Howdy y'all, it's Angela. Okay, let's try this contingent election thing again. I appreciate that I was a little overexcited last time, so we're going to slow it down, and I'm going to try to walk through it a little bit more concisely. Hopefully you guys will get as enthusiastic about the security that was written into our Constitution as I am. So, let's begin. We'll start with the Electoral College. The Electoral College was actually something that both sides, the Federalists and Anti-Federalists, were actually very proud of. It was something that they knew the whole, population thing, population density, how that was going to affect the electorate throughout the country. So, what they did, as many of you understand, was they assigned a number of electorates per state. Think of it almost like the House of Representatives. There's a number of electorates per state designated by population. So in New Hampshire, we in the primary we have 4 electorates, and in the general election we have 2 electorates, much like we have 2 representatives in the House. Okay, now don't let that confuse you. When talking about the contingent election, don't let the number of representatives that each state has and what party they represent confuse you. And we'll get to that in a moment, okay? So, as they move forward, they understood, especially back then it was a small country, it was very, very likely that they were not going to have the, it was very, very likely, especially when they originally set it up, because it was essentially the 3 primary candidates were the major considerations. It wasn't just the 2, represented by the 2 parties necessarily. It was the 3 primary candidates were up for consideration to be president, and whoever got second was the vice president. That's obviously changed over time, okay? And that will play into the selection for vice president and president when we get to the contingent election. Now, and there's been precedent, and I mentioned it in my first abomination of a video on this. There was an 1800 and an 1824 election. I won't get into details. You guys can look into it. The Congress had to decide. This is where the contingent election comes in. Yes, the president is decided in the House, okay? The vice president is decided in the Senate, okay? You can only select from the people on the ballots. So right now for president, we would have President Trump and we would have Vice President Biden. For the vice president position, we have Vice President Pence and Senator Harris, okay? So the Senate would pick between, for vice president, president would be in the House. Now, what does that mean? That means a delegation is appointed by the states. It's not you get to go in and, currently we have 2 Democrats representing. It's not that they get to go in and decide, oh, well, we want to do this. No. There's a delegation appointed by the states. Whatever that state's mechanism is for appointing a delegation, I do not know. Because each state will likely vary. I can't imagine they're all the same. So each state will have their own delegation process. Now, what is the delegation? The delegation, think of it much like the Constitutional Convention. There were many people in the first Congressional Congress, Constitutional Congress rather. It was John Adams, I think, Dr. Copley, Sam Adams. There were many people from Massachusetts, for example, who went down to the Constitutional Convention. In the Constitutional Convention delegation from Virginia, we had Thomas Jefferson, we had, we had George Washington. I don't know if Madison was there. Love Madison. And so on. There are other states you can look into who your delegates were for your individual states. New Hampshire, for example, we had a hard time during the Constitutional Convention sending anybody because we had no money. But anyway, that's a side story. And I'm trying not to get into those. Anyway, so think about the delegations in that sense. They didn't all agree. Thinking of Ben Franklin versus the Quakers who were sent to the delegate to the first Continental Congress. They did not agree. Ben Franklin was a very liberal-minded man for his day, and the Quakers were clearly of a different mindset. You know, no violence, no. They wanted to stay with the crown and whatnot. So, very different mindset. So the delegates are not necessarily of the same mind. However, the delegates only get one vote. Okay, the delegates get one vote for the president in the House. So each state only gets one vote. Okay. Understand that. So there's only 50 votes. Now, this is where it's important that I don't know what your state's governors and representatives and whatnots. New Hampshire, our governor is up for re-election every 2 years. It's very likely that our current governor, Chris Sununu, who's very popular on both sides of the aisle, he's actually a really great governor, I'm not going to lie. Chris Sununu, who is a Republican, and a big Trump guy, really big Trump guy, but very popular. Chris Sununu would likely send delegates who, if it were just entirely up to the governor, would likely send representatives to make the decision based on the populist vote, I would imagine. You know, what the New Hampshire Electoral College would have gone with. I can't imagine he would have picked a party. And that's why it's important you contact your representatives. That's important. That's why it's important that for whatever elections, you vote a Trump Republican this year. Please, you know, because it's that important. That's why this is so important. When they say this is the most important election of our lifetime, there's nothing like this on so many levels. So please, vote Trump Republican at every level. Okay, so now, what it looks like now, we have 26 governors that are Republicans and with varying state legislatures, okay? So if we were going to go based solely on that, it's going to be a Trump win. And the Senate is clearly going to be, because it's by a 51 to 49 vote with it's a one-person vote. So, and so in the Senate, it's very unlikely that Kamala Harris is going to win. Clearly, it's just not. Now, if there is no president decided on Inauguration Day, the vice president will likely have been decided. It will be Mike Pence. He, based on what the 25th Amendment, would step up because we wouldn't have a president. So that's another buffer they put in place, okay? So that's another buffer. Now, in the unlikely scenario that Kamala Harris, in the unlikely scenario that in the Senate they haven't decided on the vice president, yes, there is a chance that the Speaker of the House would be the president. But here's the thing. By Inauguration Day, we will know who won the House for the most part. Because we're not going to have, it's not going to be the same as the vast, individually counties. We're going to be able to have more of a concise, and I know there's problems, don't get me wrong. But in the unlikely event, I don't know that we would be able to call Nancy Pelosi as the current speaker anymore after Inauguration Day. So how does she get to come in? And that's where I don't think this woman, I sincerely don't. And I know there's room for argument here. This is not as concise as this is not as clear an argument as the 14th Amendment, Section 3 and 2 and 5. However, there are many buffers put in place before Nancy Pelosi could be our president. Don't let them scare you. Be aware. Talk your freaking brains out. Because if you are afraid of Nancy Pelosi, you let people know. You let people know that, okay, after about 5 different layers, then there is a potential that she could be our president. And that scares me. Yeah, I'm not going to downplay that. But I don't want you to think it's like, sky's falling, she's next. There are layers upon layers. Madison was a genius, guys. I'm going to put some links in the description below. Going back to the delegation, if you're concerned that the delegations sent by the states would be, if you're concerned that the delegations sent by the states would go rogue and not vote how the state tells them to vote, I do not believe the timing of this. I honestly believe it's divine intervention. But the SCOTUS just this past summer decided on a Faithless Elector case. I will put that link in the comments below, or in the description below. Okay? So they can't, SCOTUS just ruled, The delegations, the electors, the representatives, they cannot go rogue and go against what the state tells them, what the instructions are sent by the state for their voting. Now, what does that mean? There are some states that we clearly know are going to go, for the Democrats. But there are those of us, there are states that are changing, there are districts that are changing. We can make this change. We can. Be diligent. Talk to your kids about politics. If you look around, this is craziness. The behavior of these out-of-control children, some of them are just merely LARPing and they don't even understand what they're doing. That's bad parenting. #mother issues. Talk to your kids about politics before someone else does. I'll say it again more clearly because of blah, blah, blah. Talk to your kids about politics before someone else does. You see the article? What was it, 2/3 or something ridiculous? I don't have it memorized off the top of my head, but 2/3 or something of U.S. students don't know that the Jews were killed in the Holocaust? What the hell is that? Anyways, guys, that's what I got. I hope this is more clear. I'm not even going to do cut-ins this time, just straight through. Links below. You guys check it out. Thanks so much for checking this one, for watching this video. I hope it's more clear. Let me know in the comments. Talk to me on Parler. And I'm going to go over to Rumble, probably tomorrow. And I'm building a website. Check it out. Ha!